Hi there, my name is Kaylee, and this is the first ever Just Finance Book Club video scenario. Shay is here, but she didn't read the book, so she doesn't want to be in the video.
Hi.
Shay can't read.
Whoa!
I like to read finance books, and I also have a finance YouTube channel, which you may have noticed since you're watching it right now. And I thought it might be fun to read those books that I like to read and talk about them with people who care, because while my wife is wonderful and beautiful, as you just saw, she doesn't want to listen to me talk about finances and finance books and finance apps and finance blogs and finance podcasts all the time. I don't know why. I read this book. It's called, as you can see here, We're Talking Millions, 12 Simple Ways to Supercharge Your Retirement. It is by Paul Merriman and Richard Buck. I heard about this book when Paul Merriman was on the Choose FI podcast, of which I am a big fan. And he was talking a lot about, just simple and easy ways to make your retirement pop, just the whole idea of the financial independence movement is to get your money to work for you as soon as possible so you can do what you want to do with your life, which is great. Let's discuss, shall we? I got this book from my local library. That's where I'll be getting, I'd say, almost all the books that I want to read for this here little book club that we're doing. But I also found it has, let me shrink myself so you can see what I'm talking about. I found a PDF, a free PDF of this book online. So I will post this link to this PDF in the little Dropbox below. If after this you are interested and you'd like to read it, it is available online, which is very cool. So let's discuss. The things that spoke to me in this book, this is going to sound kind of funny, but it's the 12 simple ways to supercharge your retirement. They do a great job. Let's scroll down here if you can see. The entire book is here, I'm telling you. So section 1 is small steps with big payoffs. And this whole section, all of section 1, I blitzed through really fast because it's all just really good quick hitter kind of information. 12 simple ways to supercharge your retirement. Exactly what the title says. It's just for each small step, he spends a couple pages discussing what you can do and how you can do quick hits. So each one of these he calls $1 million decision. So saving instead of spending. Save more money, you will have more money later because of compound interest. Boom, that's $1 million decision. Starting early, that speaks to me a little bit less because I can only start where I am, but this has been a conversation we've been having a lot with Shay's brother, who just graduated from college, who's, just kind of looking for guidance and how to be a person in the world, and getting him started on this stuff right now when he's 22. He's going to be able to make huge impact by the time he's even my age, let alone in his 40s. So that's been good. Relying on stocks, not bonds. Don't ignore inflation. Own many stocks, not just a few. That sounds scary to some people because they're like, I don't know what companies to buy. But the whole point of this is this index fund section. This book discusses very much in detail, the kind of funds that they believe that Paul Merriman and Richard Buck believe you should be buying to reach financial independence quickly and effectively. Cut expenses. These are all just basic budget things, but they're things that if you've never thought about them before or never set out with a plan, you wouldn't know to do, really. The way that the world is right now is everybody kind of lives the same life. You buy a house, you buy a car, you buy this, you buy that. There's payments for everything. And, while I am in a YouTube group of YNAB people who look very closely at their finances and their spending, the majority of humans out in the world don't consider the fact that there is an alternate path towards, having a budget and reaching financial independence and, being able to, quote unquote, retire before you're 65 or 70 years old. So index funds, small company stocks, value stocks, buy and hold. This is a big one too. Stop touching your money. The simple math of dollar cost averaging, managing your taxes, target date funds, and then they start going into this building blocks. Now, I will say, I'm not going to go through every single thing they talk about in the book. If you're interested, they've got a lot of very specific guidance for what they call the 2 funds for life strategy, which is, the kind of funds that you can invest in to supercharge your retirement and have a really well-balanced portfolio. They have before retirement, rebalancing, 2 funds for after retirement, the paths, if your 401k doesn't have it. It's got all of these, like, they've got all of these very specific ideas. Let me see if I can find so I will say I found this book very compelling. I found it very interesting. I think that Paul Merriman and Richard Buck have done a lot of research, and they really believe in this 2 funds for life plan, and I believe it to be true, and I believe that it will work. The second half of this book lost me a little bit, just because of the density of the information. Like, for example, I scroll down here. To refresh your memory regarding value stocks, in Chapter 8 we reported that over 92 years, value stocks had 3 times as many profitable calendar years as losing years, and the average 40-year return of large company value stocks was 13.5% compared with 11% for the S&P 500. While technically, I understand all of that information. I know what they're saying. The way that my brain functions, when I start hearing that many numbers and this many points of reference back to back, I start losing kind of what is the actual content. I just start glazing over, and it's like many of these paragraphs back to back to back saying, like, proving out this concept of the 2 fund for life strategy. Like, they believe very much in a small company fund or value fund. Follow the 2 funds for life strategy from chapter 17 as if you were using a small, like, it's so dense, and there's so many things that are referencing back to other things that they talked about, and it starts to get really convoluted. Whereas the first half was very simple. It's like, small step number 1 is a page and a half about saving instead of spending. Small step number 2, start saving earlier. Like, it's just very simple reference, and then the back half of the book takes a sharp left turn and got really heavy into the details. And while the details are, I'm sure, correct, and I believe them, and I listened to Paul Merriman talk on the podcast all about, you know, the reason and the proof of concept and why this really works, I cannot absorb this information in this manner. The thing I want to see more in books like this is the kind of entrance factor, like the accessibility of the regular person being able to pick this book up and walk away from it and know exactly what they need to do. I think what I'm missing here is those next steps. Like, I feel like I need to go back and read this 3 or 4 times to fully and completely understand what I need to be doing in my actual portfolio to follow this strategy. Whether I want to do it or not, I feel like even if there was like a quick summary at the end of every chapter or something, just to say, this is the portfolio, these are the 2 funds again, let's reference back. Like, and I understand that this is a book about investments. It's not direct investment advice. And so they have to have a bit of high-level approach to it all, but that high-level approach is where I got lost, kind of lost in the sauce, if you will. One of the things that I appreciate most about, you know, the Choose FI approach is that it's, I've said this many times before, it's just taking your brain out of the equation completely. And with this, my brain was very much in the equation. My brain was all over the equation, and because I have to think about it so much, the likelihood that I'm going to take action and make changes based on a single read or 2 of this book is probably none, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If I read one book and then changed my entire investment portfolio after reading one book, that maybe would be a little bit foolish, right? I also, right now, I'm reading books with the intent of sharing them with people who are a little bit earlier on in their journey than I am. Like I mentioned, Shay's brother is heavily involved in reading and learning new things about the movement right now. Like, this is not something this is not a book I would recommend to someone who was just beginning their journey, because it does start out as really approachable and then gets not very approachable pretty quick. If you're somebody who loves the details and wants to nerd out about the details of specific portfolio actions, then this would probably be great for you. I am not that person, so for me, it stopped resonating a good portion of the way through, which was kind of a bummer, because I was really enjoying it. Even though I obviously know the simple approach and the starter details and all those things, I still love to hear the different ways that people have to explain the beginning steps and the ways to start this whole journey. So I was into it at first. I think I read through the whole first portion of this book in a single afternoon in an airport. But yeah, I had to kind of really push myself to finish it, because I got really overwhelmed. I think overwhelmed is a good word for what was happening near the end. It's when it becomes a lot of numbers and a lot of reference, it just gets really difficult. So I don't know if I don't know how we want to end these things. This is my first one, so.
Do you want to give it a whatever out of 5 stars? Give it a little rating.
Give it a little blank out of 5 stars. I think for me, this is a 3.5 out of 5 stars. If I was a numbers person, it would probably be a 4 or higher for sure. I think the first half of the book really was great, and I really enjoyed it. And then the turn that it took in the middle, I was like, oof, it was making my head hurt. Like, I couldn't read it before bed. It was giving me weird number dreams. It was just not for me. Good book, not for me. That's the final assessment. So let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see in these little book club, book review situations. This was the very first one I've ever done on this channel. So let me know what you thought of the book if you read it. Let me know if you're going to read it. Like I said, I'll drop that PDF in the thing down below. And anything that you'd like to see in the next one, because next month I will be reading Die with Zero. This is a book that I've seen recommended a million ways in a million different forms for a million different reasons. So I'm really excited to read this one. This is by Bill Perkins. Again, I got this at the library. You can see I got this at the library. And I recommend getting it from the library or picking it up, or if you have it on your shelf and you've been meaning to read it and you haven't read it, on the last Tuesday of June, I'm going to post a little book club book review of this guy. So please, God, give me feedback on this, because like I said, it's something I've never done before. Love to improve. It's a great motivation for me to read more books, which was one of my goals this year. And thanks very much, and I'll see you on Friday.